Conker's Bad Fur Day was known for having some of the coolest enemies ever and some of the best storytelling of the Nintendo 64. And like all good stories, this one starts out with a giant ball of poop. First thing you're gonna do is roll that bad boy all the way to the very top of the big swirly poop mountain, push it inside. You're gonna hear that thing slamming corners on its way down. It's gonna sound like you're in the crawl space underneath the bathroom of a Taco Bell. Hits the bottom, it's gonna slam the front door open so you can go inside. Once you get inside, you're gonna see all the big dung beetles that have been giving you hell on your way up the mountain. Inside, absolutely scared shitless, no pun intended, for the fact that there's like this big monster somewhere creeping around making their friends disappear. They're kind of clueless, they're really stupid, so they have no idea what's happening. To me, like, I'm watching this and it's just like, oh wow, we're in a giant mountain made out of poop, and that is absolutely hilarious. Like, the walls are like runny, it's like slowly like dripping down, and it's super gross, and it's hilarious because these dung beetles are in here drinking tea and having lunch and stuff, which would be gross, but like, you know, they're dung beetles, so it's what they do. Little 10-year-old me could not get enough of this level because like 10-year-old boys think that poop is the funniest thing in the world, and I remember being an absolute nut. Like, I loved making jokes about poop. I loved talking about it like it was some normal thing. And maybe that makes me a freak, but I work in the public school system. I can say pretty safely that 10-year-old boys think poop is hilarious, and that's a fact. So anyway, it's at this point that you like have your first encounter, if you will, with the Great Mighty Poo, because you see the sweet corn off in the distance, and as soon as Conker says something about it, you hear this deep booming voice that goes, "Bring me some sweet corn." And it is genuinely like the best voice ever. This is the voice of the gods speaking to you from within the bowels of this heap of poop. So you're going to do what any reasonable person would do. You're going to go up and you're going to get a chunk of this sweet corn, and you're going to run it up to the pit, and you're going to sacrifice it to this fecal phantom deep within this thing that you haven't even seen yet. Then as soon as you throw that poor little piece of corn in there, like, the shit is about to hit the fan, for real. He starts to swirl around and he gets devoured by the monster, the poop monster, the Great Mighty Poo, if you will. After you have tossed a handful of tantalizing tidbits to the tremendous Turd, you finally get to see him. He makes his first appearance. He slowly rises up out of this giant vat of fecal material, and he is about to bless you. He is about to lay down one of the greatest songs ever put into a video game. This guy is the goddamn Paul McCartney of video games, alright? He has a voice and a talent like no other. Once the sentient cesspool has warmed up his velvety vocals, he's going to let you know just exactly who he is and what he's going to do. He's going to remind you that he is the Great and Mighty Poo, and he is going to throw his shit at you. Indubitably. And at this point, he will quite literally begin to throw his shit at you. He will rip chunks of his own body off and chuck them at Conker as he runs around the arena. Now, as you're dodging these flying fecal materials, you are looking for context-sensitive areas. You know, the spot where you get the light bulb over your head. And when you find them, you get to throw toilet paper at the Great Mighty Poo, and you want to land it in his mouth, and he will choke on the toilet paper. And every time you land some toilet paper in the Great Mighty Poo's mouth, he will get more and more angry. The music will speed up, and he'll sing a little bit more to you to really let you know what he's planning to do to you next. So by this point, the Great Mighty Poo is getting pretty damn angry, and it is super funny. And if you've forgotten what he's about to threaten to do next, you really want to stick around, because it is very vulgar and extremely hilarious. But in the meantime, if you're enjoying these silly little memories from these old games that we played when we were kids, consider subscribing to the channel, because this is pretty much all I do. I play old video games and I talk about the most memorable moments in them. Speaking of which, let's check back in with our good buddy Conker to see what the Great Mighty Poo has in store for him next. As we can see here, that last roll of toilet paper was the straw that broke the camel's back. We are at the end of our shit rope at this point, as Mr. Leahy would say, and according to the Great Mighty Poo, the time is running short before he knocks us out, takes us, and rams our head up his big, dirty, poopy butt. Alas, it would be his own anger that would be the undoing of the world's greatest opera singer. For you see, after another couple of angel soft snacks, the Great Mighty Poo lets out a mighty belting, whatever the hell you'd call this thing, and it breaks the window that hides the giant flusher to the boisterous bowl, which he calls home, and also a little bit of cash. And if you do what I did, you accidentally pick up the cash while there's still a big giant poop monster behind you belting out awesome opera tunes, and while Conker's there like going on about the money, it's like, what is the poop doing? He's back there just raging. He's ready to kill you, man. He wants to shove your head up his butt, and you're like, oh, more spondoolium. And, you know, it's silly, but whatever. That's besides the point. Anyways, you get the cash and you pull the flusher and it is on. Here we go, Great Mighty Poo. Your ass is going down. Because, as it turns out, the entire arena in which you fought this massive, monstrous mudslide is actually basically just a giant toilet. So away swirls the Great Mighty Poo down and down, and he disappears into the bowels of God knows what. But me, I like to think that somewhere out there, the Great Mighty Poo still exists. He's chowing down on sweet corn and writing sick opera tunes. And to me, that's just the life that I want to live after I go. You know what I mean? Like a giant piece of shit. But I digress as we turn the final page of the sloppy saga of the Great Mighty Poo and we carry on with the game. I just can't help but feel that, like, there was no other part of the game that I thought was going to be this funny, and I don't know whether or not I actually enjoyed a boss fight the rest of the game as much as I did this one. And I'm not saying that it's like, oh, it's the best one and it's the best mechanics and stuff like that, but it is the funniest. It's the most memorable. Like, you never forget fighting a giant poop in the bottom of a poop mountain. It's just little things like that, or big things like that rather, that make a game like Conker's Bad Fur Day unforgettable. Like, I played this game 23, 22 years ago probably for the first time, and it's still one of my favorite games to play. It's hilarious. It doesn't even play that well. It's just funny. It's just entertaining. It's silly. It's a good time. And if you like to have a good time with old retro video games, you should consider checking out this video up here to relive great moments from another old game that you probably haven't thought of in a real long time.